Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Welcome to our second PU Computer Science online classes. And in last class we already completed the chapter 9 constructor and destructor. Now today's we are going to complete new chapter 10, name of the chapter inheritance. So we know that some of the introduction of our inheritance, some of our OOP, the full form of the OOP, object oriented programming. So such OOP contain some of the features, aspect, components are class, object, data abstraction, data encapsulation, overloading, polymorphism, message passing or dynamic binding, and finally we can say about our inheritance. So we can say that the inheritance is the most important characteristics, aspect, features of our object oriented programming, and C++ also support the concept of inheritance. Now what's the concept of the inheritance? The concept of inheritance, by using one class we are going to construct another class. So the process of forming new class from an existing class, or we can say that the object of one class are going to inherit the property to the object of another class. So this is the concept of inheritance. In simple meaning, by using base class we are going to construct new class called as the derived class. So in C++, we can say that the classes can be used in several ways. I already explained, by using one class we are going to construct another class. So we can use such classes in several ways, and this basically done by creating the new class, correct? No? Why? Because the main concept we are going to construct one new class by using our old class. So this basically done by creating the new class. And how we constructing one new class? By using or from an existing class, or simple meaning reusing the properties of the existing one to construct new class. So we can say all those point in our introduction. Otherwise we can say some other point that are the C++ allowing the user to create new class. So such new class is also calling as the derived class. Clear this point here? Why? Because we can say it allowing the user to create new class. So such a new class is called as the derived class. And how we are going to construct new class from an existing class, and such existing class called as the base class. So the derived class inherit the properties from a base class, correct? No, kya? What are the features? Well, because I already said one class going to construct by using old class here. So while going to construct from the old class from an existing class here, such existing class shares some of the property to the derived class, to the new class. So we can say the derived class inherit features or the properties of the base class here, and the derived class also can have additional feature of its own. That means just only the derived class not going to inherit the property from the base class, our new class also containing some of the additional feature of its own, some of the feature of its own. So this is about some point in case of our derived class as well as to the base class. Now let's see the definition, or we can say the meaning of the inheritance. So the meaning of the inheritance is the capability of one class to inherit the properties from another class. So this is the definition or the meaning of the inheritance? So we can say that inheritance is the capability of our derived class to inherit the properties from base class. Why? Because how we are going to construct by using the base class, we are going to construct one new class. So we can say the meaning of this definition or the meaning of the inheritance. Now let's see what about the base class. Which class is called as the base class, or what's the meaning of the base class? So base class is the class. It is the class and whose properties are inherited by another class. Correct, Nokia? Whatever the properties are there in our base class, such property are going to inherit by our another class. So such class is called as the derived class. Why? Because we are in the meaning concept of the base class. The base class is a class here and whose properties are inherited by our another class, and such base class also calling as superclass, old class, existing class here, and the base class. So many names are there for our base class. Now let's see what's the meaning of the derived class. So derived class means it is the class that inherit the properties from base class or classes. Why? Because here we can say that we know that new class constructing by using our base class, and sometime such a new class going to construct not just by using one base class, by using number of base classes we are going to construct one new class also. So we can say that the derived class, it is also the class here and that inherit the properties from our old class. Such old class only called as the existing class and the base class. Sometime by using one base class and sometime by using number of the base classes we are going to construct one new class. Maybe it will be clear, maybe our base class as well as the derived class here. Now let's see about the advantage. So we can say that the inheritance has the following advantages. So what are the advantage about our inheritance? So the advantage of the inheritance, we can say that reusing the existing code. Correct, Nokia? Why? Because whatever the code is there of class, that is called as the base class here, such code going to repeat again in our class derived class here. Correct, no? So that means whatever the code are there here, such code going to use in our base class to the derived class. So the first advantage, we can say that our inheritance has the following advantages. So the first advantage, reusing the existing code. Whatever the code is there in base, such one going to repeat again in class Y. But maybe laterwards I will tell about some explanation about the reusing existing code here. And later next one is about our faster development time. That means here whatever the code is that we already constructed, so whatever the code you are going to repeat again in class, that is called as the derived class. So all those code going to work very quickly here. So the faster execution. So we can say that the faster development time here. And the third advantage, we can say that easy to maintain. Why? Because many code are there, the number of code are there, so such all those code are very easily we can maintaining from base class to the derived class while going to execute the program here. And later next one, easy to extend. Why? Because we know that not just only one class is that the concept of inheritance, that means supporting to one concept. The concept is we are going to construct new class, and how we constructing the new class from an existing class. So we can say that the process of forming one class from an existing class. Correct, no? The process of forming the new class from an existing class. So we can say that easy to extend from one class to the another class we can construct by using the concept of inheritance. And finally we can say about our memory utilization. Whenever you want to declare a new class from an existing class here, all those memory utilization can be optimized any time. So this is all are the advantage about our inheritance. So the first advantage we can say as the reusing existing code, faster development time. And later next one is about our third point, easy to maintain, next one easy to extend, and finally we can say that memory utilization. That means whenever you want to declare a new class by using the concept of, or if you are using the concept of inheritance, all those memory very easily we can get it. So the memory utilization can be optimized here. Now let's see why, because whatever is there, whatever I said by using the advantages, I want to clear all those by using one simple example. So by using, or let us use one example to illustrate or to clear the advantage of the inheritance. So in this case, maybe here I want to use classes. So the first one I want to use, suppose a class X is there. Now this class is called as the base class. We already defined. If you already defined, that means it is called as the base class. Clear this point here? Why? Because I am going to complete all those advantage by giving one simple example here. So we can say that suppose I am going to use one class. The name of the class is called as the X here, and such class I already defined. So such class is called as the base class. Okay, it is the first class, base class. And again I want to redefine another class, and the another class name is the Y here. That means this class is called as the derived class, correct? No? So the class Y is called as the derived class. Why? Because how we constructed the class Y by using the class X. So X class we already defined, so that is called as the base class here. And again I want to declare, redefine another class, and the class name is the Y here. Okay, and such class is called as the derived class. So the class Y having the same property of the class X. So whatever the member data, member function, whatever is that, maybe some features is that, or because sometimes the class Y not going to inherit every feature of the base class here. Sometimes just only some features are going to inherit by our class Y here. That means the derived class in this case here. So the class Y having same or some property of the class X here, not just only it going to inherit or sharing the property of the class X here, also the class Y having some of the additional features of its own. Clear this point here? Sometimes it also contain its own member data and member function. Clear this point here? What I said? Why? Because I said I already defined class. Such class is called as the base class, and again I want to redefine, declare another class. The name of the class is the Y. Such one is called as the derived class. Okay, the derived class here, and such a class Y containing or having the property of the class X here. Not just only it going to share the property from the class X, sometime, or we can say that our class Y here also containing some additional features, some of the member data and member function of its own, correct in this case here. So we can say that here some of the concept is that. Why? Because the inheritance, by using the syntax of inheritance, it possible to just accept whatever the feature is there from base class to the derived class. We can accept very easily without writing the code if you are using this concept. So we can say, suppose we are using, that means direct option. What is called as the direct option? If you are using the direct option without using this syntax here. So direct option means whatever maybe the 100-line code is there in class X, everything the 100-line only going to repeat in class Y. This one is called as the direct option. Clear this point here? The direct option here. So suppose if you are using the direct option without using the syntax of the inheritance, it will create some of the problems. Clear this point here? When it going to create the problems here, when you are not going to use the concept, the syntax of the inheritance here, when you are using the direct method, okay, just to pass, to share the code of class X to Y here, on that time it providing, it creating some of the problems. Now what are the problem it going to create? Clear this point here? Now we can say that the problems are, the code written in class X, and also you are going to repeat the same code in class Y on that tab, which leads to a unnecessary wastage of memory space. Clear this point here? So this same thing, whatever the code is there, I already said, maybe the 100 line of code, the same thing you are going to repeat also in derived class in case of class Y here. So on that time, it going to leads the unnecessary wastage of the memory space in this case. So this is the first problem if you are using the direct options. And the second problems, we can say it's going to create here the testing to be done separately. Clear this point here? That means we need to test the class X as well as the class Y separately. Separately we need to test for class X and also the test for the class Y, everything separately here. On that time, it leads to the unnecessary wastage of the time. Clear this point here? So all of the problems going to create, when it going to create all these problems, when you are going to use the direct option without using the concept of inheritance, the problems are, we can say that whatever the code written in class X here, and the same code when you are going to repeat also in class Y on that time here, which leads to the unnecessary wastage of the memory space here. And the second point, we can say that here two classes are there. We need to make the test for each classes separately here, that is for class X as well as for the class Y. On that time it leads to the unnecessary wastage of the time here. So finally we can say that all these problems can be solved by using the concept of the inheritance, defining derived classes. So we can say that before going to tell the defining derived classes, let's see some other points, the final touch to this problems here. So if we use, we can say that in this case here, if we use the code of X and also in class Y here without rewriting here, correct? No, why? Because we are not going to write again. Why? Because in this case we are going to use the concept of inheritance. So the class Y also having the property of the class X here, as well as we can say that the class Y also containing the additional features of its own. And finally we can say that the class X is called as the base class, class Y is called as the derived class. So this is some of the point about our advantages and some of the example I used to complete, to clear the meaning of the advantages or the concept of the inheritance here, and what are the problem it going to start when you are going to use the direct option without using the concept of the inheritance. Clear this point here? Now let's see the next concept about our defining derived classes. Now what about defining derived classes here? Why? Because such a defining derived class using or containing one syntax, the syntax is the, and this syntax is applicable only for the derived class. When you are going to declare one new class, on that time we are going to use such a syntax here. Correct? Clear this point here? So the syntax class derived underscore class underscore name and colon is the visibility underscore mode, base underscore class underscore name, and here in our floor bracket opening and closing some of the member data of the base class, okay, the feature of the base class here. So just I used some of the points. So this is called as the comment line I used, that means the member of the base class going to inherit to the derived class, and the derived class not containing just only the feature of the base class, the derived class also containing its own additional feature also. It can have additional feature. So we can say that the member of the derived class. Clear this point here? The member of the derived class here, and closing of the floor bracket semicolon. Now we can say that when you are going to declare a class, that means the derived class, and you should indicate that what class it derives from. Clear this point here? That means the new class we are going to construct by using which base class? What's the name of the base class here? So just only I completed. So we can say that when you are going to declare the derived class, when you are going to declare a class, we must indicate that what class it derives from. That means by using which class we are going to construct one new derived class here by writing a colon after the class name. Clear this point here? First of all, we need to write the derived underscore class underscore name, and later words we need to use the colon. That means here by writing a colon after the class name. Okay, here after the class name here, and the type of derivation, we can say that here the type of derivation. So the type of derivation means many type of derivations are there. You want to access the feature of the base class, that is from which side? Maybe from the public side, maybe from the private side, or maybe from the protected side here. So in our visibility mode we need to write, that is from which side you want to access the features of the base class. So that is called as the visibility mode. In visibility mode, some of the types are, we can say that public, private and protected. That means from which side feature you want to access to our new class. Clear this point here? And later next one is about our, finally we can say that here what class or from which class it derives from. That means we constructed the new class by using which old class. Clear? So this is the meaning about the syntax. Clear this point here? And later next one we can say that, now let's see point by point we will clear the word in this case. So class is the keyword, derived underscore class underscore name, the name of the new class, okay, the derived class or super class, we can say that. Yeah, whether it's a super class, no, it is not the super, it is a subclass. Clear this point? Why? Because base class is called as the super class. Clear this point here? Class is the keyword, derived underscore class underscore name, the name of the new class, derived class, subclass. And later next one is about our colon. That means we can say that shows the type of the derivation here. That means that is from public side or private side, or from which side you want to access the features here. And later next one, visibility underscore mode. So specifies, we can say some of the type of derivation, maybe public, private and protected here. And finally the base underscore class underscore name, that is called as the name of the old class, existing class, super class. Okay, the name of the existing and super class. Then we know that why? Because the while going to inherit the derived class containing the or sharing the property of the base class, as well as the derived class contain its own feature also. So we need to write and closing of floor bracket semicolon. So clear? If you are using this syntax, whatever the features of the base class, such one going to inherit to the derived class. If you are not using such a syntax, on that time some of the problems going to create. So when it going to create, when you are using direct option, what's the code are there in class X, everything going to add it to the class Y, on that time it creating problems, the wastage of the memory space, and also we need to make the test for both. So because of this reason we can say the wastage of the time here. That means we need extra time, more time here, the longer time to execute the program. So all those problems going to occur in our inheritance. Okay, and finally we can say that some of the important note about our derived class, or by using the syntax of the derived class. So the first note we can say that the body of the derived class, now which is called as the body of the derived class. Now this one is called as the body of the derived class. Clear this point here? So whatever after the syntax, whatever I am going to write, opening and closing of floor bracket semicolon, now this point is called as the body of the derived class. So the body of the derived class contain its own member data and member functions. Clear this point here? That means I already said not only the derived class having feature of the base class, the derived class also containing the member data and member function, the features of its own here. So the first note we can say that the body of the derived class, flower bracket, closing of flower bracket, semicolon, this one is called as the body. So the body of the derived class contain its own member data and member functions. And the second point we can say that like base class definition. Why? Because we already completed some of the class program, correct no? So the class program, so while going to use the end of class definition, how I used flower bracket, semicolon. So like that we can say that here the like base class definition, the derived class definition must be terminated by semicolon. That means how I used flower bracket, semicolon, not just only the base class, also the derived class definition it going to terminate by using our flower bracket, semicolon. So this is the most important note about our inheritance derived class. And the third point we can say that if no visibility mode is used, or we can say that if no visibility mode is specified. Why? Because see here I already said the visibility mode are public, private, protected. That means you want to access the feature of the base class from which side, whether you want to access from public side, whether you want to access from private side or from the protected side here. So if you are not going to use maybe the visibility mode while writing the syntax, while going to write the program here, that means here class, maybe derived class name is the sun, okay, and colon, and you are not going to use directly, you are going to use the base class name here. On that time we can say that if no visibility mode is mentioned or specified, then by default the visibility mode considered as the private. Clear this point here? If you are using any visibility mode, maybe public, private, protected, then it going to access from that side here. But also sometimes you don't want to write what's the visibility mode in our program here. On that time we can say that here finally the visibility mode considered as the private. Clear this point here? It is a default point here. So this is about our third note. And finally we can say that all member of the class are inherited except private. Correct? No, we can inherit, we can share all side members, maybe the our public members we can share from one class to the another class here, from base class to the derived class. But some of the access specifier we can't share in our inheritance. The concept of inheritance just only need to share from one class to the another class, but also we can say that the last point you should be note it properly here. The note is the all member of a class are inherited except private. Clear this point here? That means the private member of the base class, it's not possible to inherit any side of the derived class here. So maybe this fourth note I will be clear in our visibility mode here. Why? Because many things is there about our fourth note point here. So this is some of the concept of the inheritance here. I already explained introduction, definition, what about the base class, derived class, some of the advantage of the inheritance here, and I used one example and what are the problems going to create here. So all these are the problems, and later words I go through the defining derived class by using one syntax, whatever the features of the base class going to inherit to the derived class here. And later next one, some important note about the derived class, defining the derived class note. Okay, welcome to our second PU computer science online classes. In last class we already learnt some defining derived classes syntax, that is class derived underscore class underscore name colon visibility underscore mode, and also base underscore class underscore name and opening of flower bracket, and then we are going to write the features or the property of the base class as well as the derived class, some of the member data and member function, closing of flower bracket, semicolon. And I already said the each word meaning, that is our, and also some of the note, why? Because the body of derived class contain its own member data, member function, and we can say if also the base class definition, how we are going to terminate by using semicolon. The derived class definition also going to terminate by using semicolon only, and if no visibility mode is specified, then by default visibility mode is private. And finally I said all the member of the class are inherited except private. And after that, by using the syntax, why? Because in this example I want to tell how we are going to create from one class to the another class, from base class to the derived class. So some example of derived class definition, and it is public, that means I want to construct the new class, derived class, by using the public side feature of the base class. So first one, class, keyword, father, but this is the base class. That means before going to construct new class, first of all we need the base class. So father is the base class. Opening of floor bracket, in private some of the member data are name. Why? Because we know that name group of letter going to access one by another. So going to use by using the square bracket, we need to use some of the value, and going to declare by using the data type character. It is a character, we are not using any number while going to write any name. So character, and age, that is by using data type int, maybe the age 30, 40, 12. So we are going to give in whole number without any fractional part. So the member data are name, second one is the age, and the public using, why? Because some of the features also we are going to write, also the member data going to use in public, and also some of the member function going to use in our base class name, father. So caste, that is about our char. Clear this point here. Maybe you want to enter the caste here, we need the data type char, and the boys, girls going to declare by using data type int here. And also not just only some of the member data the public acts are going to use, we can use here also, no any problem, otherwise you can use here also. Clear this point. And later next one, white, read data member function of the class, as well as print data also the member function of the class here. Closing of floor bracket semicolon, that is called as the definition of base class, that is the base class definition. We know that the base class definition is terminated by using semicolon. And after completing the base class, I want to construct one new class. Why? Because we know that the base class name is the father. Now I want to construct one new class. So by using the syntax of the defining derived class. So the syntax, class, derived class name son. Okay, I want to use the derived class name as son, colon, and in this new class or this new class I want to construct by using the feature of the base class public side. So in public side base class some features are caste, boys, girls, read data, print data. Just only these features are going to inherit to the new class, that is to the derived class. Name of the derived class is called as the son. Clear this point here. Not just only our name and age going to inherit to the new class. Whatever the features we added in our public side, these features only going to inherit to the new class. So we can say that visibility mode are public, private, protected. But in this example I used visibility mode. I want to inherit the feature of the base class father, that is all those features just only from the public side only. Okay, and later base class name, that is called as the father. And we know that why? Because the new class also containing some of the member data and member function. It can have additional features of its own. So some of the features, additional feature of the derived class private member data are, one is the company and second one is the salary, and going to declare by using their data type. The data type for company, that is the char, and salary, that is called as the float. Yeah, and later The derived class public, that is called as the son, also containing some of the member function. This is the member data. Now member functions are void, get data, void display, and this is the most important note, like base class definition. The derived class definition is also terminated by using semicolon. Clear this point? Why? Because should remember it. In this syntax I used public, visibility mode public, that means it going to access just only the public data only to the derived class. No any member data going to access to our new class, derived class. And similarly we can say that when you are going to access from the private, derived class, from the private side of the derived class, so as it is we need to write maybe base class father, private, member data of the father are name, age, some of the public, our features of the father base class are caste, boys, girls, read data and the print data here. So all are there, but while going to write class son, I want to access from the private side. That means we need to, that means here in private side what are the data are there? Name and age. Clear this point here? Just only going to access to the derived class. So we are going to write from the private. Clear this point here? That means I want to access the data from the private side of the base class, but also some of the note are there for our public, private and protected. Clear this point here? But in this example just only about the syntax I want to tell here, but laterwards I will give some more explanation about why, because the one note I already explained. All the member of the class are inherited except private. Clear this point here? And the private also called as the protected. So you should remember about this one. So here that means I want to access some of the feature that is from the private base class father. So in private some of the features are name and age going to access to our derived class, and the derived class also containing some of the member data and member functions. And we already know why, because floor bracket semicolon, not just only base class definition, derived class definition also terminated by using semicolon. And maybe sometime you want to write, you want to access from the protected side. You know that private only call as protected access specifier. That means you want to access from the protected side. The same thing we are going to write, but just only while writing here the syntax of the derived defining class, here we are going to write as the protected. Clear this point? I want to access from the protected. Clear this point here to everyone? Just only by using the definition. Here I am going to, from which side you want to access, from one class to the another class, which data side you want to access. So just only you need to write in our syntax of the defining derived class. So it going to access the data of the name and age. Clear this point? The name and age, it not going to access the data of the public side. About our protected, why? Because we know that the private only call as the protected. Okay, yeah. So this is some of the example about our derived class definition by using public derived class, by using private derived class, and also by using protected derived class. Thank you.